Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. My own dog opted out of loving me, and that's why I am the way I am, Perna. Today was the opt-out deadline for NFL players, and the final tally is up to 66 players opted out. My advice to players who opt out is to stay the hell off of Twitter and Instagram for 2 weeks until all of the shitty fake fans forget you opted out and stop threatening you for making a very personal decision. Jon Gruden faked having coronavirus for what only he could perceive as a competitive advantage. Johnny Manziel calls Darren Rovell a bitch. Von Miller is ready to lead. Matthew Stafford is cleared to play. And the XFL might be returning to Alabama. So much to discuss. Whew. Let's Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for near daily NFL news updates. Today's episode is sponsored by Raycon and the Everyday E25 earbuds. Have you ever wanted earbuds so amazing that you could hear subtle subliminal advertising with outstanding clarity? Buy Raycon.com. Premium wireless earbuds. If you're a fan of my show but get a little nervous, I'm gonna drop an F-bomb while you're watching with your kids in the room. The E25s and their noise isolating fit are a perfect solution. My dirty words will be our little secret. I use mine to listen to medieval folk rock on my bike rides, which is proven to be the world's best workout music. They have 6 hours of playtime and there's color options to match your inner spirit animal. Mine, of course, is the owl. Half the price of other wireless earbuds. And since there were no subliminal messages in this ad, I must tell you to click my link in the description to get 15% off your order at Raycon. Okay, the final number, again, of player opt-outs is definitively 66. Enough to fill an entire roster. One of the final players to opt out was Malcolm Pridgeon, who was the third Cleveland Browns guard to opt out, ensuring they will have offensive line problems again. Now, the Dolphins had late opt-outs from receivers Allen Hurns and Albert Wilson, basically anyone named Al in Miami. When asked why they were opting out, Al and Al said,
"As my wife and family, what if I die here? Who'll be my role model now that my role model is
gone? The good news is the Dolphins do not have any players named Betty. Otherwise, they might have more opt-outs than the Patriots at this point.
I can call you Betty, and Betty, when you call me, you can call me out."
Now you know where I stole my entire look from. Tre'Davious White, Bill's corner, was ridiculed just for considering to opt out, which sucks. But it's also a testament to how good he is. The way I see it is, the more angry fans are when a guy opts out, the more that player probably means to the success of the team. Tre'Davious White ended up deciding to play, which is good for the Bills. Another guy who definitely opted out of opting out is Gardner Minshew. Is this the face of the man who defeated COVID? Unequivocally speaking, I'd have to say yes.
It had been like the first day of school, like had my outfit picked out and everything. Had to stay at home. That sucks. Missed out playing with all my friends. But yeah, did not contract the virus. It took one luck at me, ran the other way. It was probably in its best interest, so
We know he had an under-the-radar impressive rookie season, and that the Jags complemented that by doing everything wrong this offseason. So, to help that organization, I took this luscious video, poorly keyed it out, and created the infinite secret Gardner. And yes, I'm still waiting for a like or an RT from the Jaguars. No surprise, the least popular NFL Twitter account doesn't know what the fuck they're doing on social media. Raiders head coach Jon Gruden pranked his players so hard. So hard when he tricked them into believing he had COVID-19. Now, if he could only trick them into playing good football. Apparently, Gruden did this as a test to see how the players would react upon hearing that their almighty coach had the virus. I have to imagine he announced it like this. "All right, men, I have coronavirus."
Knock on wood if you're with me.
Ugh, God. Knocking on Gruden's wood and Antonio Brown burning his feet off in a cryo chamber seemed like decades ago. Gruden's tactic to test his players didn't make sense until it was announced that Gruden has officially cut 16 players who seemed completely indifferent to the news. Derek Carr is still on the team, though, as he shed the appropriate amount of tears for the fake Gruden COVID news. And Derek is darn tired of being disrespected.
I'm gonna be completely honest here, I'm tired of being disrespected. So there was no question I was gonna play this year.
I'm sorry, Derek, but just like every Carr to make it to the NFL, you won't get any respect until you retire and become an analyst. The Carrs weren't that good of a band, and they're not any better at football. Those are just the facts of life. Now, a tremendous battle of two very insecure men took place on Twitter yesterday. Post-human sports bot Darren Rovell had a tweet from juxtapositioning Alex Rodriguez and Johnny Manziel from 7 years ago versus today, basically making the point that they've switched spots in terms of who's hit rock bottom versus who's on top of the world. Insinuating, of course, that Johnny Manziel is a loser. Mr. Football took that the wrong way, of course, and told Roveltron 5000, "You're still a bitch." Now, the point isn't that Rovell is wrong in this situation. He's correct. It's just a bizarre non sequitur that didn't need to be made. Like saying 7 years ago, I was at rock bottom, but Paul Walker was still alive. And now I'm still at rock bottom and Paul Walker is dead. Who is this helping? The NFL is turning their players into an army of hall monitors. The only difference from elementary school is that these were the jocks who were supposed to give stitches to the snitches. Either way, players can call a hotline to anonymously report their team's COVID violations. The NCAA and the NBA have done the same thing. It appears the refs won't be the only ones blowing whistles this season. This would have saved Edward Snowden airfare to Russia and a whole lot of grief, if you ask me. Some people are motivated by money, some by fame. And then there's Von Miller, who is motivated by 10-part ESPN documentaries. Personally, the reason I get out of bed every morning is because I strive to be like Ricky Williams after he retires in Run Ricky Run, the most inspiring 30 for 30 out there. Or Lance Armstrong. If there were only a drug I could use to cheat YouTube and pass PewDiePie, I would take that drug and be as good as Lance. But I digress. Von Miller, after watching The Last Dance, has redevoted himself to becoming a true leader in the locker room. And I'm all about Von being the ultimate leader.
I want to demand more from my teammates. And in the last dance, Michael Jordan said that he would never demand anything out of his teammates that he wasn't doing himself. So for me, it was like, bro, I got to work harder. I got to push harder. I got to get back in shape. I got to lead more. I got to lead better. You know, pressure is privilege. And to have the pressure of being the leader of the Denver Broncos and lead this team to dominance again, and to lead this team to a Super Bowl, you know, I want that pressure. And years before, I kind of shied away from that pressure. I'm going to lead in my own way.
The Last Dance motivated me too. The difference, though, is an edge rusher can't really control games like Michael Jordan did. They might be able to take over a game here and there, Super Bowl 50, but his impact is limited by the position he plays, so I don't know how meaningful his new leadership role will be. Unless, of course, Vic Fangio is smart enough to move him to quarterback. Imagine how many sacks Von Miller would have if he was the quarterback. Now, everyone is losing money during the pandemic, and number one is the Las Vegas Raiders, who are going to lose an estimated $571 million by not selling tickets in their first season at Allegiant Stadium, per Forbes magazine. It's estimated that the Raiders would have had the most expensive tickets on the secondary market. The Denver Broncos were projected second in losses at $491 million, and the Chargers, of course, are the only team expected to make money since they won't have to pay stadium employees to work games nobody will attend. I know I said I would stop doing that, but I'm not going to. As a reminder, Forbes magazine once featured this prestigious show. So we love our friends over at Forbes and thank them for reminding us that two of the biggest construction projects in NFL history LA and Vegas are opening this year, and no one can get in. Lions fans were ready to give up, but they'll have to wait until the season actually starts, like they normally do, because it turns out their quarterback is healthy. Matthew Stafford tested positive for COVID once, but then got 4 negatives in a row, which makes it an official false positive. He gets to rejoin the team. The Lions don't have to start camp with Chase Daniel and can resume business as normal, preparing to let down the city of Detroit for the 30th straight year. Kelly Stafford, Matthew Stafford's wife, was not happy that the NFL placed her husband on the COVID list after the mix-up. She took to Instagram to deliver a long-winded complaint about the obstacles the Staffords faced at the grocery store, the playground, friends having to be tested so they could return to work. Look, that sucks that their lives got interrupted because of a false test, but I'm not going to cry for them over this. The kids don't get to go to school, like most kids right now. This is all stuff that's regularly happening to the people who haven't amassed $203.8 million in career earnings. People are going to find out if Matthew Stafford is away from the team, and they're probably going to be able to deduce why. Being a public figure means sacrificing a certain amount of privacy. That's part of the deal. That results in weird unintended consequences during a pandemic, but it's certainly not the end of the world. The fact that they were inconvenienced by unnecessary caution is better than it being the other way around. Erring on the side of caution is going to get this season to work. I wish everyone in our country was erring on the side of caution. Specifically Tom Brady. He is such a risk because of his age. Make him sit, NFL. Or at the very least, give him a few false positives this NFL season on game day. Now, as I ungracefully step off my soapbox, let me present you with the best thing to happen to sports since they got shut down. As you can see here, it's Mike Clevenger, starting pitcher for the Idiots. Pretty cool to see Cleveland change their name from the Indians to the Idiots and embrace who they really are, unlike those idiots who run the Washington football team. And that's what we in the biz call the perfect segue, as the Washington football team used Twitter for their not at all anticipated helmet reveal. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Washington, and God bless you, Washington football team. I was having a really hard time imagining what yellow numbers would look like on red fucking helmets. To be fair, this is an improvement, and many of you are in support of this old school classic football look, a la the Alabama helmets, which I get. But as a man who has considerable debt, the sight of any number is a trigger to my own monetary failures, which means I hate it. And finally, Birmingham City. In Alabama, the Birmingham City Council is meeting with XFL leadership, aka The Rock, to bring a team to Alabama. Birmingham, of course, had the AAF team, the Birmingham Iron, for those brief few weeks back in 2019, but they're certainly itching for football again. You have to understand that it's been 3 whole years since Alabama has won an NCAA championship. A Chicago Cubs-like curse for them, relatively speaking. Just move the Vipers to Alabama and call it good. All hail Commissioner Rock. Commissioner Rock. God, that has a nice ring to it. We'll be back tomorrow with more news on That's Good Sports here on YouTube. Subscribe. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, @BrandonPerna if you care to follow my socials there.